So much of what happens in the world around us is out of our control, out of our influence. What happens to us all. But it's not about whether or not bad things will happen to you in your life, because they most definitely will. What really matters is how you choose to respond. Take responsibility of your reactions and really step away from reacting and just being volatile, very easily triggered, and start taking responsibility for the way that you respond. Deliberately and intentionally make your mind up in advance how you're going to respond to difficult situations, to challenges in your life. Because if you leave this unchecked, then you will simply go with the flow, with the path of least resistance, typically heading towards panic or fear or dread whenever something isn't going the way that you would want it to. But you really have to ask yourself, are these the most productive emotions that I could be feeling when I'm trying to handle something challenging? The answer is, of course not. There is a better way, and it simply takes a moment of realization to start changing everything here. Remember, you largely control the outcomes that you get in your life as a direct result of how you handle your emotions and how you decide to proceed, what action you take as a result of what you feel. And even if you are a very logical person who thinks themselves someone who is very deliberate with their thinking, very conscious, very aware, you are still largely ruled by your emotions. And to realize that is to get power back. To realize that, it really gives you the opportunity to start changing. In fact, trying to push your emotions away is about as effective as bashing your head on a brick wall. It's not going to work, and you're going to get more and more frustrated the more that you fight against yourself. Instead, you should try to embrace what you're feeling and ask yourself, why am I responding or reacting like this by default? What's going on within me? What's causing this? And now, really interesting part becomes, how would I like to respond and react instead? What would be a better, more constructive way for me to feel about this? The more you align it with true intention, the more that you use your conscious mind to really dial in the target, the easier it becomes to respond the way that you would like. If you give it all the space and room to just evolve and develop into whatever it will, you lose all your power and you become very, very reactive. What should be a small problem that gets handled quickly can turn into a gigantic issue where all of a sudden you're spiraling downwards and out of control and overthinking absolutely everything. Maybe somebody makes a nasty remark or snarky comment to you. Maybe you realize that somebody has been talking shit behind your back, or maybe you don't get the result that you were looking for in your business or in your progress with your health or your dating life. It doesn't matter what area it's happening in. What matters is for you to realize that this shouldn't be amplified and brought further. It's not supposed to be given more strength. Pain is pain, but you create your own suffering as an extension to that. When you really realize what you're feeling and why you're reacting this way, all of a sudden, it becomes quite easy to make a decision and say, you know what, I want to respond differently, and I know I can be better here. And if you want a little more structure, if you want to make this practice easier, then simply write down what's happening in your life and how you feel as a result, what reaction you're having. Then, as the final step, make a commitment and a decision to how you would like to feel instead. And in order to make that transition as smooth as possible, make sure that you acknowledge yourself and understand why you felt the way that you did to begin with. Because if you don't recognize that, it's really difficult to move on from it. This platform of self-awareness holds so much power, like you wouldn't believe. It really opens up all these possibilities where before you just have blinders on and you don't really think about how you're reacting. It happens automatically. It's all on autopilot, because if you really had a choice, if you had made a deliberate, conscious decision to behave that way, well, it's completely counterproductive towards your goals, towards how you want to develop yourself as a person. It's probably very contradicting. But when you make the conscious choice, the decision, you take back that power instantly. It also really helps to imagine the best possible version of yourself. How would that version of you respond to different events and different challenges? How would you like to show up? And what would you like to be feeling in those moments? Instead of stepping into a key moment in your life with fear and anxiety, you would probably want to feel excited and really focused and dialed in. And the difference there is actually quite minuscule. It's not this massive leap, it's a subtle shift from nervousness to excitement. But it's with that little shift left unchecked, never really paying any attention to it, that's where all the danger is really accumulated and amplified. Because ignorance is not bliss at all. All it does is hide your flaws. And if you don't put the spotlight of attention on this area of your mind, then you can't really develop yourself and grow nearly at the rate that you would if you were deliberate about it. So amplify your awareness and take responsibility for how you feel, not for what's happening, but for how you are reacting and responding to it. Shift away from those spontaneous reactions that really don't align with the type of person that you want to be, and integrate a deliberate response that you think aligns with your long-term goals and the type of person that you want to show up as. Finally, if you want my personal support to guide you, to coach you, hold you accountable every week, to help you really become your best self, then I invite you to hop over to erafael.com. Over there, you can book a one-on-one session with me directly. We'll talk, see if we're a good fit, and if so, we'll be working together in a monthly coaching program where I'll be supporting your growth week in and week out. Again, if you want to take advantage of that, erafael.com, link is in the description. As always, I hope that you enjoyed this one, and I will catch you on the next one.